Hello, and thank you very much for joining us today for the Smart Regions Innovation, Recovery, and Resilience Workshop. I think it's just going to be a terrific workshop. I'm Jean Rice. I'm with the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, and that's a part of the Department of Commerce. When you think about where we are today and where we've come from COVID and we're working on recovery, we want to think and share best practices and lessons learned. And the smart regions you're going to be hearing from today just have great success stories. They have things to learn from. And one of the reasons I think that they have been successful in kind of filling very important and needed gaps at this moment is that they have built on a base of local stakeholders, community involvement, and partnerships. And because of that, when they needed to reach out to a partner, they had a ready partner. So I think that that is one of the most exciting things that we see. We now have a group that has been also focusing, not just now, but in the last several years, on how do you make a long-term resiliency in all of the various areas of smart cities verticals. Regions kind of are a way to aggregate demand so that not only helps the market, but it's a way to leave no community behind and to share resources. So it's a really exciting thing, I think. I have to say, also welcoming today are going to be Sokwoo Rhee, who's with me. Sokwoo Rhee, who's the Associate Director of the Cyber Physical Systems Innovation at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Sokwoo is also the director of the terrific Global Cities Team Challenge, which you'll be hearing more about throughout the day. And we also have Maci, Morin, who's the program coordinator for the National Association of Regional Councils. She works with regional councils all the time and really is an amazing resource for what's the latest studies out, what can you find. Not to mention, she has been a terrific manager for this. So thank you, Maci. Then we're also going to hear from Glenn Ricart, who's our co-founder and Chief Technology Officer for US Ignite. And I'm sure all of you know what great work US Ignite does. And they have a new grant program that we're happy that he's going to announce and talk to you about today. I'd like to also give a shout out to the planning committee. Maci, do you think you could put up that slide for me? There we are. I just want to say this has been a team that has done a terrific job. They have really been thought leaders. They have been working diligently on a whole host of issues. You see from the range of their backgrounds how terrific it is. I just want to thank them. I also want to say how happy I am that the regional people who are speaking and who are moderating the panels are onto. As far as I'm concerned, they are such incredible thought leaders, and they also kind of work really hard with us as we go forward, and we try to collaborate on best things. So anyway, thanks to the planning team. I really appreciate your work on that, and I think everyone else would too. Part of this work is all based on the Global Cities Team Challenge Smart Regions Collaborative. We started that about a year ago with NIST, NTIA, my agency, the Association of Regional Councils, and 10 smart regions. And it is multi-stakeholder, multi-sector, multi-jurisdictions, and it kind of is a conversation that kind of elevates what the actions are on local and regional levels to kind of get a sense of how we can all work together across those kind of borders with industry, universities, cities, communities, states, and others. So it is great that we have this movement, and I have to say that it's been growing pretty rapidly. Personally, I think it might have the hallmarks of a movement. So anyway, I'd love to see that continue, and I'd love to see people continue to share their best practices. The regions that are part of the Smart Regions Collaborative have some really basic tenets that they work on together. One is a people-centric design. Making sure that whether you're working on public safety, transportation, health, rural connectivity, smart ag, a whole host of things that you might work on for efficiencies, economic development, workforce development, all of those things, that they're based on what people needs are from the bottom up. What are the community needs? And then how can we use tech, not for tech's sake, but to help those needs. So Maci's going to talk more about the collaborative, but I just want to give you that kind of sense of it. The other things that we really work on are making sure cybersecurity is baked in to the process and with the people doing it. We also work on privacy. We want to make sure that people's privacy is withheld and kept tightly held so that that is not a concern when they look at what's a trusted network to use and what they're trusted in how the information is being used. we also take a really good look at civic engagement. How can people be involved more, and what do we need to make sure that they understand the issues and questions before them, and then work to have them participate in kind of co-design, kind of looking at how we work at things, and want to see where we can actually come up with inclusion ideas. So it's not just engagement and part of the process, but how can we make sure everyone's included and no sector of the community is left behind. So that is a very important component of what we do, the smart regions. I just want to let you know that, it's kind of like, what is a region? Well, no one size fits all for regions. What we have is regions of all types. I'll just give you one example of kind of how a region evolved. And you'll hear more about it, of course, today. But the state of Pennsylvania Ag Department was saying, hey, we want to look at improving food shed supply chain for Pittsburgh area. And so, the original thought is, well, it's Western Pennsylvania. Okay, so so they said, okay, well, they got an ARC grant, and they realized that really it's a 200-mile radius and includes 3 states, a number of counties, cities, nonprofits, foundations. They've done an incredible amount of work getting their stakeholders to work together. And, it also sometimes has unexpected benefits, like one time a company that picked up all of the produce from a farming group was no longer going to serve the area. Without a beat, they were able, through their partners, to get others in there so that the farmers didn't lose any money. They have long-term goals like keeping young farmers, making sure that farmers have an economic base. So those are the kind of, I guess, big picture visions that various regions are working on. We have some regions that are within a state, like in the state of Arizona, there's 2 regions that are working right now on it. We also have like regions that work on an area such as 11 counties in Indiana for smart ags. We just have kind of a whole host, including transportation and public safety, that is in California around Lake Tahoe, that really is 2 states. So it's kind of the one size fits all is up for each region to decide what is the important areas that they go for and where you'd like to see it go. I would have to say that, we're going to talk about some great topics today. I just want to give you a few little pieces on those. And it's all going to be working on recovery and resiliency. How do we work together and work with our stakeholders, our communities, to have a resilient future? So one of the first things we're going to look at is how to look at transforming transportation. What do we need to look at now, especially as some of the companies are saying, hey, I might be a little more telework friendly than I had before. So what do they need to think about in terms of transportation? We have one group looking Cascade, which you'll hear about more later. They're working at how do you help handicapped folks with their transportation needs. So very interesting projects going on. We're going to look at digital access and inclusion. How folks in the Silicon Valley and Washington State through NOAANET and others have gone forward and been able to kind of hit gaps and close gaps during this period of time. We're going to look at the transition in healthcare and education, which I think has been amazing. We'll see how UVA and MITRE work on, telehealth kits to go to nursing homes, and how Kansas City works on inclusion on a long-term basis. We also have on data sharing. We're going to look at, regional situational awareness at this time is very important, not to mention long-term decision making. So we have several groups working on that. You're going to hear more about them today. We're also going to, and tomorrow, we're also going to look at smart ag and rural prosperity. What's working that in terms of like Independence, Oregon is starting an innovation hub for farmers and small businesses. Just kind of all kinds of how to do mapping, lots of many things that have to work around each particular issue that we're working on. Another is long-term recovery and vision, and we're looking at vision, what do we see in the future? And one of our colleagues is in from NASA to talk about aerial mobility as one of the things. And we also have, partners and investment, like National Grid is working with Schenectady, different groups, and you'll see that so many will be highlighted that I just think it's going to be a terrific workshop, and our group works collaboratively, and we hope that all of you who are out there will join with us. If you are interested in being partner with one of the regions you hear about, or if you'd like to start a region and want to kind of come into the regional collaborative, please let Maci and I know. We'd be happy to have that happen. So now I'd like to turn this over to Sokwoo Rhee to talk a little bit and give his welcome. Sokwoo?
All right, Jean, thanks so much. Jean gave very good, excellent opening remarks. So I'm not going to repeat most of what she already mentioned. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on what GCTC is and where it started and how it came about so far. So about 6-7 years ago, NIST and our partners recognized that a lot of the smart city discussions and projects was just beginning, but they're very they're isolated and siloed, and every city was doing their own thing. There is really no best practices, and there was really no collaboration going on at the national or global level. So we thought that was a real problem, because if you really want to grow a market and really see the benefit of collaboration, you gotta get them working together, not just between cities, but also between cities, universities, and industry, and so on. So we created this platform called the Global City Teams Challenge. It is a federal government program led by NIST, but at the same time, in partnership with other agencies like NTIA, DHS, and DOT, National Science Foundation, whole 9 yards, and also State Department and ITA and so on. So the whole point is bring those projects and stakeholders together and let them create teams that they work together to implement projects and share the result and identify what is successful and frankly what didn't really go as well as we hoped. Then we hope these successful projects can be replicated in many other places instead of everyone reinventing the wheel around the world. So it was very successful at the beginning, and it grew rapidly. And by the way, not many of you may know this at this point, but US Ignite, which Glenn we're going to discuss about a little more, has been a early partner of GCTC. We began this journey together, and we're like brothers at that point between NIST and US Ignite and other federal agencies. So anyway, I'm very glad that we are actually working together again on this Smart Regions workshop. So why this region is important? Jean pretty much laid out already. So last several years, we did a lot of pilots. We found a lot of best practices, and we've been starting to realize that to really create the economies of scale, these projects has to be implemented at the regional scale, not just at the city or town scale. It's great to test things out at the town and city level, but what we really need to see is replicating and scaling those success in a broader the range of communities. So that's where Smart Regions comes in. And then we are hoping that this conference, we're gonna be a catalyst, and at the same time, we're gonna be an opportunity for all these stakeholders to come together and see what each other's doing and figure out how to scale up or how to replicate your success and help each other. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to bring it back to Jean.
Okay, thanks, Sokwoo. That's great. And yeah, I might mention that we have a lot of super clusters also in this that have verticals on all of the areas that you might be interested in, like public safety, transportation, wireless. So there's also a way to connect to many resources and thought leaders in GCTC. So thank you so much. Okay, let me turn it over to Maci Morin from the National Association of Regional Councils and our manager today. Maci.
Hi, everybody. I don't know whether to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, because we really do have people watching from all over the world. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for being a part of this great initiative that we've established over the last year or so. And it's really hard to think of what to add to Jean and Sokwoo's opening remarks, but maybe I'll focus a little bit more about what we hope to accomplish with GCTC. And if you join, what we hope that you will get out of it, much like the members that are already a part of our Smart Regions collaborative community. So we are seeking to share, ideas, best practices, thoughts about smart regions with local and regional leaders. We really try to be as inclusive as possible. Like Jean said, you know, there's no definition for what a region is. Depending on what part of the country you're in, it could look completely different. So we are really looking to brainstorm ways that we can help you all as you're whether you're starting out as a Smart Regions Collaborative, you're kind of just exploring these ideas, or if you've been doing it for a while, but maybe just hit certain roadblocks, like, you know, trying to find funding, trying to find partnerships. So we really hope that through this project, we're able to connect you with the thought leaders and the experts who bring the expertise of smart regions, but also technology, automation, and in general. So connect you to those folks and to those knowledge bases. And at the end of this, we're going to be creating a blueprint that we hope will empower local, regional, tribal leaders like you all through different things: benefits analysis, case studies, best practices, and action guides that'll help serve as a starting place for folks to build their own smart region strategies. So, you know, whether you're a large region or small, urban or rural, I think regionalism has a way of connecting all of those folks together. And I know that we've seen through our work with regional councils that that really works, and that there's value and there's power in pulling together resources, knowledge, capacity between cities and counties that share similar demographics, geography, issues. So when we all get together, we're able to accomplish much more than you know, the sum of the parts. So with that, I think I will turn it over. I believe Glenn is next.
Yes,
Oh.
Glenn, please go right ahead from US Ignite.
Oh, Glenn, you're on mute.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here today. I've known Sokwoo since he was a Presidential Innovation Fellow, and we were plotting out how to get GCTC off the ground together. And it's always been a pleasure to work with Jean Rice. NTIA has been one of the federal agencies that has been most involved in trying to make sure Americans are connected and connected well through the resources that they need to have access to, including healthcare, education, and other things. And it's also a pleasure to work with Maci, because we also agree with you that regional approach is the best way to do things. Sometimes we need to get things started within a given municipality, but spreading it to a region so that you've got all the power and support from the organizations throughout the region is obviously a great way to go. Did you bring up my slide? Oh, you already have brought up my slides? Okay, great. All right, so that's a picture of downtown Salt Lake City, and it's showing the lights are on, because at this time of day, that's exactly what it looks like. We haven't had dawn here yet, so we're going to have that very soon. It's going to get brighter soon. But for those of you on the West Coast, I'm sure you can sympathize as well that it's just dawn. Here in Salt Lake, on the bottom right, you can see the Mormon temple, which doesn't look like that today because they're renovating it. And you can see Main Street going downtown to the left of the Capitol Dome there. So this is kind of the city that I live in and work in, and try to make and Salt Lake has always taken a regional approach, because it is the biggest city in the whole state and adopts the entire state as its region. So in our case, our region is our state to make that happen. Next slide, please. So US Ignite is a nonprofit. We're a 501c nonprofit. If you're looking for a place to make a charitable donation before the end of the year and get a tax donation, consider US Ignite. We think that it would be a good place to invest. US Ignite is a nonprofit. We're helping to accelerate the smart community movement and create value for an entire ecosystem. We look at this as an ecosystem play, where we need to have the communities involved. That's lots of you folks, and regions, into a connected future. And we really think that future is connected. just like Gene and others do. If we're not connected, we can't work together. And so the connectivity is just so important. That creates a path for private sector growth. Once you've got your citizens connected online, able to learn, able to produce new economic value, that provides for the private sector to be able to hire those folks, have greater economic output. And there's a private sector growth that occurs because of the connectedness and the willingness of the region to work together. And I've circled the last one, advancing technology research. That's at the heart of smart city development. US Ignite believes that new technologies are going to be part of the key, just part of the key that unlocks what we can do with smart and connected communities and regions. And the reason we think that is because we know that we have not yet reached the end of the technology revolution. We know there's going to be new iPhones and new webcams and meetings happening online all year because there's an unexpected pandemic. But technology has really risen to help keep the economy going as well as it is, given the fact that we've got this pandemic. And we have to be connected to do that. And NTIA has always had that as one of its prime goals. And of course, Sokwoo, Rhee and the Global City Teams Challenge, also very much in line with that, as well as US Ignite. US Ignite also runs the Platforms for Advanced Wireless Research. That's a $100 million program with $50 million from the National Science Foundation. And US Ignite has worked with its private partners to raise the other $50 million among wireless companies. And that's now at 4 places in the country, including at the University of Utah, in the Upper West Side of Harlem, with Columbia University and Rutgers University, North Carolina State University, and there's going to be one more rural picked from Iowa and I believe it's North Dakota. So they're still in competition. So we're very interested in propelling those kinds of technology advances. Last slide, please. So I wanted to talk to you about Project Overcome. It's a National Science Foundation funded project. And the important thing to write down or to memorize, I tried to make it easy so you could memorize it, is our website, us-ignite.org. We're a nonprofit, so that's why it's .org. / I think it's program singular. There might be a mistake on that slide. Program / overcome. We're going to try to overcome the problem that a lot of people are still not connected to the internet. 17 million Americans nationwide. How many in your community do not have access to the resources of online government services, online education, online healthcare, telehealth? We're trying to figure out how we can best get all those folks connected. Now, we're not going to do all of them with this program, but it's a pilot program to see if there are some interesting creative ways that communities can work together in partnerships to be able to make that happen. So National Science Foundation is about discovery. We'd like for you to discover creative ways, creative technologies, creative partnerships to be able to address the unserved and the underserved in terms of internet connectivity. What's that going to be? I have no idea. I'm just tossing out some random ideas. It doesn't have to be these ideas. Your ideas are really the ones that are going to propel this. Maybe there's something about, maybe you can figure out how to make fiber self-install. Fiber is limited by the installation, not by the cost of the fiber. Can we make this a do-it-yourself fiber kit? Can we lay them on top of pavement and put on a hard adhesive so that it's only a 1/4 of an inch high? Our tires don't really feel it, but you can have the fiber optics and a gigabit or 10 gigabits going right across the highway. How about in more rural areas using TV white space around 700 megahertz? That's something that makes sense in your community. Speeds are limited, but the range is great. Or if there's a lot of energy right now around CBRS, the Citizens Broadband Radio Service, and maybe that's a mechanism that you might use to go and connect folks. And maybe you've got some other ideas, maybe Facebook Telegraph or optical communications or something else. Maybe you've got some asset, maybe you've got some conduits that are being unused in your community through which you can blow fiber. Whatever it is, we're looking for creative ways of serving the unserved and underserved. There's a competition that has just begun. You're right in time. We just announced it a week or two ago. We're going to pick 5 pilot communities and provide up to $300,000 from the National Science Foundation to each of them, and use that as seed money to form partnerships within that community, within that region. And we're thinking of partnerships with community-based organizations, anchor institutions, schools, libraries, religious institutions, governments, municipal governments, regions, regional councils. We're looking for all of these kinds of organizations that are working for the benefit of the community, local foundations, local philanthropists, to go and add to that either their skills and perhaps helping to motivate and teach people how to use their new connection, maybe being able to donate equipment. Maybe you've got a university that has surplus PCs that they can go and help folks access. But community-based organizations within each community and region to go and work together so that we've got these partnerships that can go and really attack the difficult to reach folks. We're looking for measurable social impact. We've got a couple of social scientists working with us at US Ignite. We hope you might have some as well. The object is not to go and count how many connections we have. The object is to go and say how many more people are able to usefully use telehealth, be able to get online education, be able to access online government services, be able to access the local and regional libraries, be able to take out and read books. All of these things that are societal benefit are what we're really looking for. We're connecting the unconnected, not for that purpose alone, but for the benefits it brings. There's going to be a webinar on this that you're welcome to come to. It's going to be on November 10th at 11 a.m. Eastern. And the registration for that, you need to register in advance, is at the URL at the top, but I think program is singular instead of plural, usignite.org/program/overcome. And the proposals, you have until January 8th to go and assemble your communities, your partnerships, and to be able to explain your vision, your creativity, how you would go and connect the unconnected in your communities. Proposals due January 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern. We are working in league with lots of other organizations that work in this space. We've talked to Gene Rice to get lots of ideas for the RFP. And when you read that RFP, Gene, you're going to see some of the things you told me in that RFP. They're right there. The National Digital Inclusion Alliance, Angela Seifer, the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, Chris Mitchell, the Internet Society, and the folks there who have a number of tutorials on how to get these things done. Next Century Cities, Angela, all of these organizations are organizations that have similar missions and would like to help support you in doing this. And of course, the Global Seeds Challenge is a great way to do it. So thanks to the National Science Foundation for the funding. Thanks to the Global Cities Team Challenge for giving us these few minutes to talk to you about it.